Welcome at Pizza and More. From time to time, I think we should make a different form or shape of the pizza. Of course, sometimes the shape of the pizza is by itself automatically total different. If it sticks to the peel, then maybe the shape is a total different. But no, if you make a shape by purpose, normally the pizza is round. Once I made pizza in star shape. I made also already the calzone, which is also a bit of a different shape. And this time I will also make a total different shape. Yeah, I'm Jürgen, and this total different shape, well, it's very difficult to explain or how to give it a name. Maybe you saw it already in the title, in the picture of the title, so on the thumbnail. Or even if you stay until the end of this video, you will see what I make at the end. It's simply, well, a kind of a folded pizza. No idea how I should name it. The base for this pizza should be Poolish, 50% Poolish, which means 50% of the amount of flour is in the pre-dough in the Poolish. And you know the Poolish is a very liquid pre-dough, so the same amount of flour and the same amount of water, and of course a little bit of yeast. We will let the Poolish raise 24 hours, and we will also let the main dough raise then afterwards 24 hours. And the leavening time of the Poolish will be room temperature, and that's the reason why we use really a very, very little amount of yeast in the Poolish. The total hydration we want to make for the whole dough will be 70%. This is not too easy, but also not too difficult. You will be able to make it if you choose the right flour. I use two different versions of flour. For the Poolish, because the Poolish has a far longer leavening time than the whole dough at the end. So for the Poolish, I will use a flour with a high baking strength, with 14% of protein, and with a W value of 340 to 360. And for the main dough then, I will use a flour with a medium baking strength. This will have 13% of protein and 290 to 310 W value. And now I would say we start directly with our Poolish. Making the Poolish is really quite simple. By the way, you don't have to write everything down, because the whole recipe will be in the video description, and the whole procedure is also in the video description, as in each other video as well. As I already said, I have here a flour with a high baking strength, 14% protein, and this is 250 grams. It is a Typo 00 flour. Then I have here 250 grams of cold water, and I have here 0.05 grams of dry yeast. And when you hear this very little amount, you see it's impossible to scale it with a normal scale. You really have to use a precision scale. If you want to use fresh yeast, then please use 0.15 grams. The reason why we have this very little amount of yeast is simple. As I already said, we won't let raise the Poolish totally at room temperature. For making the Poolish, we need a bowl. There we pour all the water in. Then also the flour and the yeast. And then we use a whisk to mix this. And then we can use such a spatula to clean the side of the bowl. Then of course it's important to close the lid. And then we let rest this Poolish for 24 hours at room temperature. The Poolish had now a leavening time of 24 hours at room temperature, as I already said. The Poolish is now more in double the size. It developed absolutely fantastically, and now we are prepared to make the main dough. For the main dough we have exactly the same amount of flour again, so 250 grams, but a smaller amount of water because the most amount of water is already in the pre-dough. It's absolutely fantastic to go on with the dough right now by hand if you have no kneading machine, because the Poolish is very liquid, it's very weak, so it's absolutely great to work also by hand. However, I have here my dough machine prepared and I will make the dough with the dough machine. And now we start with the main dough. For the main dough we need our well-developed Poolish. Then we need 250 grams of 00 or type 0 flour. This flour, as I already have said, is from a medium baking strength with 13% of protein. Then I have here 100 grams very cold water. This leads then in sum to a hydration of 70%. I have 15 grams of fine sea salt and 0.7 grams of dry yeast, and if you want to use fresh yeast, then please use 2.1 gram. To create the main dough, we pour at first the water into the machine. Then we add the Poolish. As next, the flour. And of course, the yeast. And now we start our mixer at a low speed for around 5 minutes. After a kneading time of 5 minutes, I add the salt. And now we continue kneading at a higher speed. I increase the speed now to a medium speed. You have to be very patient with kneading. I'm pretty sure the kneading will take additional 15 minutes or so, and you have to knead until the dough stops sticking. You will see, well, the dough has a 70% hydration, but actually the dough sticks to the bottom of the bowl. When the dough is ready, it will not stick anymore to the bottom of the dough, and this will take its time. We knead now until we are able to make the window test. Now after a total kneading time of around 15 to 20 minutes, my dough is ready, I think. I took it already out of the bowl, or a piece out of the dough of the bowl. I covered my hands with water, and now I will try to make this window test. Therefore I stretch the dough, and if it's possible to stretch this dough very thin, you can see like mine, then the gluten structure is built properly, the dough is ready kneaded and can be taken out of the machine. Now when the dough is out of the machine, you can again cover your hands with olive oil or even with water, and then we have to do several times the stretch and fold, and then we shape a proper dough ball. Therefore you can see with such a spatula I release a bit the dough from the counter, and then we go with the hands from the left and from the right under the dough. We lift the dough up, put it back onto the counter, stretch it and fold it over. And this exercise we do now several times, and then you will see the dough stops slowly but truly sticking. The dough strengthens again his gluten structure and also the surface. And if we have done this several times, and you can feel that the dough gets stronger and stronger, then we also can turn this dough, and then we go with our fingers under and we pull the dough. Then we turn it again and we pull the dough. We don't roll it, we only pull it, that's important, that the dough sticks a bit on the counter and then the surface of the dough gets strengthened. And then we take an already prepared container or dough ball box, and then we take our dough, put it into this box. Very important, we close the lid, otherwise the dough would dry out. Now we let the dough rest at room temperature for around 1 to 2 hours, and then we put it into the fridge for roughly 10 hours, and this is now the so-called bulk fermentation. 12 hours later, the dough is ready with his bulk fermentation, and now we bring the dough into the boil fermentation. The time when you make your pizza boils is, you are very variable with this. You can create your pizza boils directly after kneading the dough, or you could do it whenever you want during this time frame. So you don't have to maybe to get up very early in the morning. You don't have to get up in the middle of the night, for example. You can do whenever it fits to your schedule. However, I would strongly recommend to create the dough boils minimum 6 to 8 hours before baking the pizza. The reason is we have to shape the boils. And then we stress the boils, and the boils need to be relaxed, otherwise it's not possible to stretch a nice pizza. I said it's independently whenever you want, you can create your dough boils. I think if you do it in the middle of the whole leavening time, so you have bulk fermentation, you have boil fermentation, and in the middle of this time, and then you shape your dough boils, you bring here new oxygen to the dough, and this means new energy for the microorganism and also for the yeast. I compared this once. I made a video of this. I had different baking results, and the video will be linked here. And now I would say we make the dough boils. I took the dough already out of the box, and now I make 3 pizza or dough pieces with round about 280 to 290 grams each. I have now 3 times 280 grams. For shaping the dough boils, we try to keep this side, which was during the leavening, on top, also on top, and then we pull the dough from the side and push it at the bottom into the center. And so you can see the dough on the surface of the dough gets strengthened. You also could use or shape your hand like this. And if the dough sticks too heavily, you could use olive oil in your hands, and then it stops as well sticking. And if then the surface of the dough is already nice, you press the dough at the bottom together. You have to guarantee that the bottom is closed properly, and then the pizza boil comes into the box. And if your dough really sticks too much, and if you have no chance to prepare your dough boils by hand, then you have also the possibility that you do several times the so-called, what we saw with the big boil, the stretch and fold. Therefore we take our dough boil, we lift it, and then we stretch it and fold it over. And then you also can see already now that the surface gets strengthened, the dough stops sticking, and then we have a nice shape. Then you could use the spatula and go a bit under and turn the dough. Don't roll the dough. This is the same with the big ball, only so. And then you also get a nice surface and a nice dough ball. And if you have done this, also here we have to guarantee that the bottom of the dough is closed. and then you can put it back into the box. And then of course it's again important to close the lid. And now directly we put the dough balls back into the fridge, and we take it out of the fridge round about 4 to 6 hours before we bake the pizza. This depends a bit on room temperature. The warmer it is, the shorter the time should be. If you have round about 25 degrees, for example, in the room, then also maybe 2 hours are enough. Everything is prepared. The dough rose fantastically. You will see the pizza balls in a few seconds. I have all the toppings, all the ingredients already prepared. Unfortunately, again, the weather is bad. Really, at this time when I wanted to preheat my pizza oven, it started to rain. It's still raining like hell. And well, okay, it's the weather. I had to preheat again my electrical pizza oven. The temperature is 400 degrees, and now we start with our pizza. Now you can see here the dough balls, they look absolutely fantastic. Now I take enough semolina to take the first pizza ball out. And then I have to be here very gentle. I won't stress the dough, because as soon as the dough is stressed, it's impossible to form and to shape a nice pizza. You saw what I did. I used enough semolina. I released the dough everywhere, and then I used the spatula to lift the dough ball out. Now, as always, we have to protect the remaining dough balls from drying out. And with shaping the pizza, we have to be a bit careful, because otherwise, as I already said, the dough might be stressed and we are not able to shape a nice pizza. Now we shape the pizza like a Neapolitan pizza is shaped. We press all the air from the center towards the crust. As I said, this pizza will have a special shape. At first, I have here some ricotta cheese, then some hot salami from Calabria, then I add some fresh grated black pepper, and now I fold it together and I press it here together. In one of both sides, this will be a pizza bianca, I add some ricotta cheese. And on the other side, some tomato sauce. Fresh grated Parmesan cheese on both sides. Then some fresh basil, mozzarella fior di latte, some ham, then mushrooms, and you can see this side of the pizza is like a prosciutto e funghi. And then we add some olive oil. And then our pizza is ready for the oven. We add some semolina onto the peel. We lift the pizza and we push the peel under. And then it's time for the oven. And here comes our nice pizza out of the oven. And then I'm going to add some rucola and tomatoes onto the center. I only added here some vinegar and olive oil. And you can see in all these air bubbles, our Poolish did absolutely its job. And as you saw, this crust is so full of air. I cut out only a piece of the crust and I will taste now the crust. And I can tell you this crust tastes fantastic. It has so much aroma and so much flavor. This is due to the Poolish. The outside of the crust is crispy, inside it is really very fluffy. If you like my video, it would be fantastic if you would subscribe my channel, and then we see us in the next video. Ciao!